Hi everyone, this is my pool plan video in DFFOO global version of the game, and this video will be covering specifically Locke's LDBT arc, where Locke will be a synergy unit. You can refer to the cropped infographic on the left hand side of the slide to see which events these are. The infographic was derived from Jakematt's global forecast, and I will also be including a link in the video description to the full forecast, so do check it out if you are interested in that. So as a way of quick disclaimer, the whole purpose of this video is just to share my thought process and plans for the upcoming banners and really show how I came across some of my decisions on whether to pull or skip certain banners and characters. A lot of this is obviously heavily influenced by which characters I already have, my preferential playstyle, and of course my amount of resources, so they may or may not be ideal for you. I always advocate to do your own research before making any decision so that you can make the best informed decision as to whether to pull or skip certain banners. There are really multiple ways to play this game, of course, so there is no one right way, but rather I will suppose the way that provides you the most entertainment. Also, because we are sort of in the early C90 era, and there will be quite a lot of characters getting their C90 upgrades, which potentially gives them a much needed power boost. Due to the sheer volume of characters and me wanting to keep the video length somewhat manageable, I will only be covering characters who are also getting new LDBT weapons and such. So before beginning, just a quick tally about how much I spent during Noel's LDBT arc. I was pretty lucky overall, I must say. So during Noel's LDBT banner with Sid Highwind, I managed to snag both Noel's LD and Sid's LD. I didn't actually have Noel's LD to begin with, even just 4 multiples. So I stopped there, even though I still did not have Noel's BT because I could potentially snag it on a future banner. I skipped Onion Knight's banner because I already have Sarah and Onion Knight, and during this arc they also released Noctis and Vanille. Because I already have Noctis fully built and I don't really have a lot of interest in Vanille's LD, I skipped that banner as well. Shortly after that we had Cater and Queen in Queen's Lost chapters. Now I spent 40 tickets on this banner, and that's really only because I was capping my tickets and I couldn't redeem my hunt tokens or do any more hunt quests because I was at full 40 out of 40 hunt tokens. So I decided to just throw 40 tickets on this banner. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything. I actually don't have Queen built up and I don't have Cater's LD, so I just decided to cut my losses at 40 tickets and move on. And finally, we had Liud's event featuring Liud's debut, and this was the banner and event that I was really going for, so I decided to go in deep with tickets because I was again at ticket cap, and I was quite lucky here. I scored Noel's BT weapon on my 40th ticket pool, and then on my next 10 tickets I actually snagged both Liud's EX and LD, so I just decided to power token the rest of his gear and save the rest of my tickets for later on. Alright, so coming up on the first event, which is Dimensions End Transcendence 7, and I believe there should be actually 3 banners on this event. I'm not entirely sure, I don't play JP, but based on the forecasts, I think these are the 3 banners. So we have Locke's LDBT on the first banner alongside Tifa and Faris. We have Firon rerun of his LDBT, of course having a C90 and BT Plus upgrade, alongside with Sunday and Young, and finally we have a 2 character banner featuring a rerun of Ace and Hope. Now starting off with Locke, he receives his new LD weapon and BT weapon, and with the C90 boost on top of that, he now becomes one of the top DPS units in the current meta. His abilities can potentially give him the Genji Glove and Master Scroll HP attack, and if he does have access to that, he hits extremely hard with that specific attack. It does take some setting up in order to get that specific HP attack up, because he can also be buffed with other relics such as his Miracle Shoes. In particular also, his BT Aura does also have a defense ignore property which applies to the entire party, so while his BT Aura is up, your entire party actually ignores defense, which is pretty amazing and unique to his current BT weapon. Firon receives his C90 unlocking as well as his LD bots and BT plus as well, and overall he does also receive a rework to his S1, S2, making his entire kit hit slightly harder and I guess up to par in the current meta of C90. His BT plus is actually quite decent. It provides big boosts to max Brave, provides the entire party Brave gains and Brave regen as well, and of course he can also heal with his kit as well. So if you're looking for this sort of character that can deal some nice damage, has traps and can heal a party, he does actually fulfill this role quite nicely. So overall, my plan for this banner is to actually just go in tickets immediately, and I'll just be pulling on Locke's banner, aiming for his LD. And the main reason for this is really I'm quite happy with my green Machina. So at this point in the game, I don't see a big urge or need to pull for a DPS character, and I'll just be aiming to get Locke's LD so that I can at least use him for synergy across the next few events. I do also have Firon's gear built up just without his burst weapon, and although I would like to get his burst weapon, I'm not going to throw in any resources just chasing specifically one burst weapon on a banner because the rates are just too low in my opinion to be worth it. So I'll be skipping Firon's banner and Ace's banner. The next event we have after that will be Edgar's Intersecting wheel, featuring a much needed rework for Edgar alongside his C90 Awakening and his new LD weapon. The good thing I guess about Edgar is that his entire kit, so his S1, S2, EX and LD, all has defense ignore. So this sort of makes him a somewhat consistent DPS unit. His LD also now provides him a new debuff, granted only when he's in the main party and not as a call ability, but this allows him to actually inflict either magic, range or melee imperil. So he does have a somewhat unique kit, being the only character that can inflict any of the 3 imperils in the game. Although having said that, there are characters who can inflict one of the 3 imperils all the time. So Oren can inflict melee imperil, Friend can inflict range imperil, as well as Irvine, and Hope can actually inflict magic imperil. So the imperil itself isn't unique, but he can actually inflict any of the 3 that you want. Alongside him, I know I won't mention other C90 characters who don't receive new weapons, but just a special mention about Struggle. With his C90, Struggle becomes a very high damage dealer specializing in AoE attacks. If you need an AoE specialist, then you really can't go wrong picking up Struggle, especially if you are fairly new to the game and you missed other AoE specialists such as Twins. So my plan here is to actually skip this banner altogether, and main reason is I actually already have Struggle fully built and I'll probably just use him in this event, and I already feel pretty comfortable with my DPS roster anyway. Like I said, I have Machina fully built with his green BT weapon, and on that front, if I'm gonna use any DPS characters, I will probably pick one of the other characters over Edgar anyway. And I also do have already the characters that can inflict imperils. So on that note, I will welcome the opportunity to actually save my resources here and just forego Edgar altogether. So the next event after this, we have Red event featuring Papalymo with his new LD, and he also receives a rework and of course his C90 Awakening. I must say, looking through his gear and his abilities after that, his damage does seem pretty good, especially as a non-BT weapon user. His LD weapon gives him new buffs and access to a new LD granted HP attack called Xenoglossy. So overall, I must say pretty decent. I guess his only con, so to speak, is that his timing of release is unfortunate because we would have Struggle right before this, also as a highly capable magic character, magic based DPS character. And like I said earlier, we have at this point quite a few BT based DPS units, Locke being obviously a very good example, but also Noel and Machina. So for DPS characters, if you have recently been pulling on this, I guess another good example will also be Sid Hyrin. there really isn't a lot of incentive to keep pulling for more and more DPS characters, unless of course you feel you really could use more of them for whatever reason. But in my case, I don't feel a big need to pull for Papalymo. So that being said, I'll probably be skipping this banner. Dark Knight Cecile being the secondary featured unit also helps me make my decision, because I already have all of Dark Knight Cecile's kit, including his LD weapon, so I'm not missing a lot skipping on this banner actually. So around this time in JP, they also had a special banner featuring a duo of Eiko and Vivi. Now it's hard to say whether we will be getting the same banner in Global, because they did actually recently change up a few of these featured banners. But assuming we get the same banner, this is a banner that I'm very hyped for, because looking over at Eiko's kit, I feel that she is really very loaded. Now first of all, she does get a somewhat decent rework, and of course her C90 upgrade, which sort of boosts her damage and abilities up to the current meta. But that's not the reason for the hype. It's really tied to her LD, and I must say her LD is really very loaded. So it provides her a new overhead buff called Phoenix Pinion, that it by itself already has some nice support auras tied to it. It provides the entire party with, I believe, 20% HP damage up, 40% brave damage up, and the entire party with Holy Enchant as well, which, since she also imperils Holy Element, effectively makes her a Holy Enchanter and Imperiler. But that's not all. What's truly amazing about her overhead is that it does also have charges, and as long as it has one or more charges, each time any party member falls below 50% max HP, and this includes even if any party member is KO'd, Eiko herself, it will trigger a special Phoenix Pinion attack. And on top of doing some nice damage, this attack also revives everyone, including Eiko herself, and heals them by 50% max HP. So not forgetting that this is actually tied to an overhead and not a buff. What this means is that it also will trigger if, say for example, a Lufenia Orb expires and the Orb has an instant KO attack. So the Orb expires, everyone instant KOs and removes all buffs, but then Eiko's Phoenix Pinion will still kick in, and this will revive everyone and heal them to 50% max HP. Currently, this is the only ability in the game that can actually help you to recover from a triggered orb attack. Now I know there are probably some other ways to evade an orb expiring, such as having Kane jump into the air, or maybe having someone like Ishtola calling in a friend unit or using her call ability and having that unit in the orb attack instead, so that Ishtola herself can come back and revive everyone. But it's really not the same thing. Eiko's ability is sort of specially tuned to protect everyone in the event that anyone's HP drops below 50%, and I guess it's unique in the way that it's the only ability that can actually bring you back from an expired orb attack. So my plan here is to go hard for Eiko's LD. I will mainly be using tickets because I have quite a lot of tickets saved up, but she's really worth it. So on this part of the video, what I'll be doing is actually going through my opinion, and really I can't emphasize this enough, it's an opinion on which characters I think are worthwhile to go for if you are undecided and you have very limited resources in gems, tickets or ingots. Again, I'll really only be listing characters here with new weapons or their BT plus unlocking on top of their C90, and I won't really mention other characters who only receive C90 upgrades, because otherwise there will be quite a lot of characters filling up the entire screen. So there are three categories here. So good value are characters I feel who will provide you a lot of value regardless of who you already have built up in your roster, and really you won't go wrong if you decide to invest in them. Role fulfillment characters are those that I believe are actually still very good, but that really depends on what you actually need in your roster. So if you are feeling very comfortable and you have other characters who can do similar things, then you may not want to pull for that character. And lastly, we have consolation prize. That's really what I call characters who they are not bad, they can be used, and really even in Lufenia Plus they can put in some good work, but end of the day it's all relative. Why do you want characters who can be used when you have characters that are extremely good? So the characters that fall here just on virtue of the timing of their release gets overshadowed by other characters. So for good value characters, I have two characters here, Locke and Eiko. I guess Eiko is no surprise given how much I've talked about her. I really feel she is really fantastic as a support unit. She seems to have everything that I would want in a support. She has healing, she has great auras, she has the Holy Enchant and Imperil, and she now also has additional attack built into her overhead that also heals and potentially revives keyword characters. So there's really nothing that bad about Eiko. And even if you have other support characters, she can still put in some good work on virtue of her LD overhead alone. Locke is actually really good value because what I really appreciate about him is the fact that his entire kit with his BT Plus provides the entire party with defense ignore, which is really good considering the sky high defenses that Lufenia Plus can have. And he really hits very hard with his Genji Gloves and Master Scroll HP attack. I would have really greened Locke if I did not actually pull for Machina. So the main reason why I'm not going crazy over Locke and greening him immediately is really only on the basis that I don't have a lot of BT ingots because I did recently spend a lot of them, and because of that I think I'll just stick to using Machina for the time being and save my BT ingots for future characters. So going over to the role fulfillment category, I placed Firan here because I think he is actually pretty good. He can heal, he can do some nice damage, and his BT aura is actually pretty decent. I think the only thing holding him back is we have Locke and Eiko released at around the same time. So in my head, what I was thinking is, if I really need a good reliable healer, I can always bring Eiko, and if I need a good damage dealer, I can always bring Locke, or in my case I can bring Machina. So again, I don't see a big need for him, and I think there may be other people with similar sentiments as well. I do know that there are people aiming to green Firan, and he will probably work very well for them, especially in boss rush content because he does have often damage. But again, in my situation where BT ingots are already very few to begin with, I sort of think he's a bit behind my priority when compared to Locke and Eiko. Lastly, in terms of consolation prize, I list the remaining two characters here, which is Papalymo and Edgar. And again, they do deal some nice damage, but by this point in time, if you are pulling on recent units, you would have, for example, Struggle, who is probably the better magic based unit versus Papalymo. And in terms of damage dealers, you have choices between Locke and Firan as well. And although they may take BT ingots to get them fully built, I think they are probably better suited in your party of 3 as a damage dealer compared to Edgar and Papalymo. So if I'm bringing any of these characters, I wouldn't probably be bringing Papalymo and Edgar anymore because I would need to dedicate my remaining 2 party slots to other roles or utility. So at the end of it all, in short, my plans is really to spend tickets for Locke's LD. I'm not particularly interested in his burst weapon because I wouldn't have the ingots to fully realize his burst weapon anyway, even if I get it. So if I get it, then good. If I don't get it along the way, then I'll just be perfectly fine skipping his burst weapon. I will also be skipping Firan and Ace banners, and for the next 2 events, which is Edgar and Papalymo, I don't really have a lot of desire or urge to pull for them, so I'll probably be skipping them. But the next banner after that, which is Eiko's LD, I will be throwing tickets hard, and if I need to, I'll even be spending gems just to score her LD. So that's it for this video. As always, I hope that it's been useful and enjoyable. And if you do like the content, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.